I guess we're on. So we're back
We're
with
live.
Don Haywood, and the professor's back there. He's already studying. Oh no. We're missing a couple of people, but that's okay. We got
It'll be fine.
we got a slim crew today. But if you want to donate lavender tea or a lavender some lavender
Latte.
syrup, so I can make us a lavender latte, please do. And as we mentioned before, that's not Jared. It's just a picture of him, right? And we are we are in the book of Daniel. What about the future? And in these two sessions is very interesting. There's a lot of just some
This is not called coffee, but it's good.
it's not okay. But wouldn't you say that is coffee?
It's coffee.
So you're calling it coffee,
I'm
don't you?
calling it coffee. Don't get offended, Jerry.
I know. So we are in the book of Daniel. So in 2 Peter chapter 3 states what, Donald?
The scoffers in the last days are willingly ignorant of three things.
Of what, Don?
The flood,
The creation?
the creation,
Yep.
the flood, and the coming judgment.
That's right. I like that bumper sticker. Jesus is coming and boy is he mad. So we were covering the seven major points of what's going on in the world, which we've talked about the creation for about 8.5 years, and then the flood for about 2.5 years. That wasn't that bad. Now we're in part 3, and I can't wait until we get to part 4, 5, and 6.
And the end is coming.
And the end is coming. So we are in part 3 with
We're talking about Dan and Neb.
well, yeah.
It's raining arrows.
There we go. Slide number 125.
Slide to the left, slide to the right.
So we are in Daniel chapter 4. David, go ahead and read that for us. You can read it in your Bible if you want to.
I'll have
Verses-
to because I can't see.
Verses 1 and 2. Oh.
Okay. Start with Daniel chapter 4. Nebuchadnezzar, the king to all peoples, nations, and speakers of every language that live on the earth, may your peace abound. It has seemed good to me to declare the signs and wonders which the Most High God has done for me.
Thoughts?
Who's talking?
I think this is the
Fun fact. Daniel chapter 4 is one of the few chapters that's not written in Hebrew. It was written in his language. King Nebuchadnezzar actually wrote chapter 4.
You think so?
That's based on scholars, right?
Based on what people say.
I think that's what Syriac
Or
or
either that well, Daniel shows up and interpreted it. So,
Yep.
well, from my understanding,
Neb and Dan just like that.
the first part of it was either Hebrew or Aramaic, and the last part of Daniel was the other.
Yep.
I can't remember which.
Something like that.
So-
It's two different languages.
yeah. So this is Nebuchadnezzar speaking.
Yep. Unto all people, nations, and languages.
And I think that he's starting from the end of chapter 4 and doing a prequel. Because
Yeah.
when you get to the end, you'll see why he's having to say this at the beginning.
Yep.
People that dwell in all the earth.
Yep. So the title of this, what do we call this? Message, sermon, whatever,
Another dream.
seminar.
The signs and the wonders of the high God hath wrought towards me.
Well, let me ask y'all a question. Is it possible for someone to go absolutely crazy, insane?
Happens all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, but do they ever get their senses back? That's the question.
Happens very
That's the
rarely.
question. We'll talk about that later.
Are they gone for good?
Yeah. How great are his sons? Well, hold on now. Hold on. So here we have Nebuchadnezzar, a heathen king, right? Nebuchadnezzar's a heathen king, and notice
He's experiencing God.
Notice in verse 2, I thought it good to shew the signs and the wonders that the high God, capital G, hath wrought towards me.
He knows who he is.
So
but he's experiencing him.
So from this point to this point, you got Daniel chapter 1, Nebuchadnezzar takes everybody away and has them captive and made a eunuch. Look that up. And now Nebuchadnezzar is finally getting it. You know. But what we'll find out later in Daniel chapter 8, 9, maybe 10, might be even 12.
He's gone by then.
What, Daniel? No. I'm not talking about Nebuchadnezzar. I'm talking about Daniel.
Oh, I thought the Nebuchadnezzar's gone by then.
Yeah. He's gone. Yeah. So Daniel, at the end of the book, he says pretty much, I don't understand what I wrote, and God says figuratively, don't worry about it. You know,
We told him to seal it. John
at the Isle of Patmos will pick that up, break the seal, and he'll do that in Revelation, which we'll get into that. So, how great are his signs and how mighty are his wonders? He's understanding that, you know, who God is. Okay, Don, let's say you were King Nebuchadnezzar, right? And you cast 3 of the people who do not obey you into the furnace. The heat was
walking around, three coming.
The heat was so
It
intense.
killed the ones that threw him in.
It killed the ones that threw him in.
Yeah.
So
He knows who God is.
so you see 4 people walking. Not the fact that, you know,
One of them looks like the Son of God.
yep, the Son of God. Not what all the different Bible versions say, a Son of God, the Son of God.
And Daniel's done interpret his first dream.
Yep. The kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation.
Now, if that ain't prophecy, how great are his signs and how mighty are his wonders? His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. His domain is from generation to generation. And we're still going through the generations.
That's true.
And his kingdom is
That's right.
forever. And he knew it.
Oh,
And as capital G, he knew God. He just hadn't experienced him enough to fall in love with him yet.
right. Go ahead, Donald.
I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the vision of my head troubled me.
Oh, here's another dream.
Thoughts on his bed and the visions in his head sound like a country song. doesn't it?
That's right.
I remember the visions of sugar plums going through my head.
Go ahead, Donald.
Therefore, made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream.
So here we go again.
Making decrees, kind of like the President of the United States today.
Well, yeah, but he's still doing the same tricks.
Yeah, at least he ain't getting mad this time.
Yeah, and killing everybody. That's true.
Threatening the families too.
Yeah.
Hold up on this. Then.
This must not have been as scary as the statue.
Yeah.
That's a big statue.
Mm.
But he wanted to bring all these people in.
And they came in.
Yep.
All the magicians and the astrologers and the Chaldeans and the soothsayers. And I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof.
Now, why on earth could they not do that?
Because they weren't smart enough. But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my God, little g, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods, little g, and before him I told the dream, saying.
So what you're saying with the little g, that is profound when you're reading the Bible of any version, really, especially the King James version, because the King James has everything kind of lined up and it's like flawless, and they don't skip anything. We got little g that tells us that it's like, one of the Babylonian gods.
Marduk.
So he still hadn't accepted God.
Yep.
He knows who he is. He knows he's a God, but it's Daniel's God.
Yeah.
He hasn't accepted him, but he's experiencing him.
And O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods, again little g, is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee. Tell me the vision of my dream that I have seen and the interpretation thereof. So Nebuchadnezzar, is talking to Daniel. He's seen Daniel do it before.
Hey, you see,
Go ahead.
now that's Daniel's Babylonian name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Belteshazzar, yeah.
Look what he calls them after that. Masters of the magicians.
Yeah.
He's done made him over all of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
That makes
He
him
was
sound
an
like
ambassador.
he's an incanter or something,
He was in the king's cabinet.
But a quick question to all of you, talking about that.
Almost chief of staff. Wasn't it?
Does your boss like you? Or did your boss like you?
Some did, some didn't.
My boss,
I got promoted a few times.
yeah. I talked to
Almost got demoted a few times.
I talked to one of my supervisors today, and he says that he promoted,
That's good.
but all he's waiting on is that question, like the referral question, which
Master of the magicians.
So, but what does this tell you about Daniel? This says that Daniel was a worker. Not only a worker, he was a smart person.
Very wise.
In chapter 1, it talks about, he says that Daniel understood science. He was filled with knowledge and he understood science, which probably means, hey, David, will you get one of those next to the diffuser over there? One of those petrified clams?
That says a whole lot.
Which probably means that they don't believe that they came from Iraq 4.4 billion years ago.
Did Daniel have the knowledge of his own, or was it given to him by God
You think
for
this
a
is a
time in
clown?
history?
That's just a rock.
Is it?
It ain't flat enough to be a clown.
Oh.
I think God had a plan.
Oh, definitely,
I
yeah.
think He put a man
And it's
in
like,
a plan.
and it's like
And
God
gave him some wisdom.
God had a plan for you.
That's right. For a time in time.
But that plan for you is the same as Yeah, but that kind of confuses me. My friend said that this was a clam, but I don't know if it's a clam or not. But for
Now that might be something. That has a familiar shape to it.
yep. But the question is, I have a point to this. Let's say that this is a petrified clam or a seashell. Well, you can go in on the beach and you can walk on the beach and you find seashells in the open, broken and crumbled by the
Go to Virginia Beach,
by the trillions.
and they're all crumbled to pieces. And that is one beach you don't walk barefoot on.
Yeah.
Hurts your feet.
But what on
In
earth
there.
would petrify a clam in the closed position?
Well, they
Going back to the flood.
On
They live
Mount
there.
Everest. But I have a point to this.
On Mount
a clam lives in a closed position, well, except when it eats.
Yeah. But you see, the
Keeps his mouth shut the rest of the time.
Yeah.
and the clam,
He's
the
protecting that
clam
pearl
is
in there.
the clam is
Protect the
immobile.
jewels.
The clam cannot move. That would be a very.
What do you mean move?
Well, I don't,
You ain't ever seen how a clam swims?
no.
It'll open its mouth, take in a gulp of water, and spits it out, and it pushes them along.
No kidding. I did not know that. I'm going. I'll have to look at videos, watch videos on that. That's awesome. But
Google it.
Google it. But this is a result of God's judgment. What we're going to be talking about in this chapter, next chapter, is God judged, someone, and if you notice, you don't know how old they are, but they're, God gave them enough chances for that, and then He just gave up on them.
Come on in.
Hey,
I try to make it soon as good.
I know.
Better late than never.
Justin texted. He said that he's on his way too.
Whew.
I figured you might have been helping him groom dogs today.
Nope.
Go ahead, David, if you want to read it in your Bible.
Verse 10.
Yeah, 10 to 12. How about it?
Oh yeah.
Daniel,
Daniel
chapter 4,
4.
verse
10.
10 through 12.
The visions that passed through my mind as I lay on my bed were these. And I was looking, and behold, there was a tree in the middle of the earth, and its height was great. The tree grew large and became strong, and its height reached to the heaven. And it was visible to the end of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, and its fruit abundant. And in it was food for all. The beasts of the field found shade under it, and the birds of the sky nested in its branches, and all living creatures fed themselves from it. Sounds like a tree of life, doesn't it?
Yep.
For animals.
So this is the dream, right? So
The first part of the dream.
what do we have to say about these? What's this? Because we know there's symbolism in this. The tree in the midst of the earth. So what does the tree represent?
And you're getting ahead of yourself. Because when Daniel explains it, he's going to tell you what the tree is.
Well, I know. But
There was a huge tree you could get from all over the world.
thoughts so far?
Let Daniel explain it.
All right, Gregory, read 13 and 14
I
for
can't
us.
have my glasses.
Oh, no.
I'd rather see it.
All right,
I don't have mine either.
go ahead.
That's why he had trouble getting here. He couldn't find the way.
Go ahead, David.
Okay. And behold, I saw in the visions of my mind as I lay on my bed an angelic watcher, a holy one, descended from heaven. And he shouted aloud and said, this, cut down the tree and cut off its branches, shake off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the living creature run from under it, and the birds fly from its branches. Can we go on down?
Yeah.
Well, the story goes down through 17.
Go ahead.
Nevertheless, leave the stump with its roots in the ground, bound with a band of iron and bronze, in the new grass of the field, and let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let him feed with the animals in the grass of the earth.
Interesting. Thoughts?
Tree's coming down. You gonna read that, David?
Me or you? You said through 17. I'll read it. Let his heart be changed for man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him.
There's that 7 again.
Huh?
There's that 7 again.
This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whosoever he will, and sitteth up over the beasts of men.
So that 7 times, what do you, it doesn't say what length it is. It just says 7 times.
Yeah.
You think
7 is perfection.
Yes, but it could be months,
Yeah.
days,
Mm-hmm.
Till it's perfected.
weeks, hours. He
Yeah,
could have gone crazy just for 7 hours.
that's true.
I'm just glad he didn't knock me blind off a donkey.
I think most take it for 7 years. Most people do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But like I said, it really doesn't
it
say.
didn't
But
say. It just said 7.
it's kind of like saying I'll make him perfect.
Till it's
after,
done.
Make him perfect after 7.
Yeah.
Until it's
Make him
done.
complete after 7.
This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. So thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods, little g and little h.
Well, I think that's what he's calling in Daniel's God.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's calling Dan. Because he uses little g when he talks about his own God.
He understands.
Yeah.
He's seen all that. He understands. He knows who God is. He just hadn't experienced him enough yet.
True. Go ahead, Donald.
I had to experience him a long time. Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was a focus my eyes.
Need a
Was
spell check on that
for
one.
1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belshazzar answered and said, My lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies.
So if you notice that most of the book of Daniel, Daniel is called by his name, not his Babylonian name. That's why I think this was written in Nebuchadnezzar's language, because he calls him Belteshazzar.
Both names right there.
Yeah,
Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar.
yeah. But mainly he calls him Belteshazzar, which is the Babylonian name.
It was a stone for 1 hour.
Go ahead.
The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O King, that art grown and become strong. For thy greatness is grown, and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth.
Thoughts?
He had a empire.
Absolutely.
Just saying that we don't have empires today. I don't think that we have empires like they had empires back then.
Yeah, Russia's trying to be one.
Yeah, they're gonna keep trying in this world, but unlike there were 5, right? The statue said there was 5.
Well, there's actually one before, but that was Daniel's past. Syria was first.
Rome has fell asleep, but it will come back. There's never gonna be another empire. That's it. That's all empires is gonna be, because we're talking about the end of time when you're talking into Daniel.
Yeah.
There's not ever gonna be another empire as strong as those empires were, in my opinion. That's where. But
I agree.
I don't think, America today is supposedly the strongest nation in the world.
Well, you know what they always call the president, leader of the free world.
Yeah,
It depends on how strong he is, though.
United States can be taken. Nuclear weapon is nothing to play with. And so many countries has got that now. But even Russia, United States, is not as powerful as Babylon was in the day. Compare that to us, day to day, time to time. I don't think we're as strong as Babylon was. I don't think our empire, I don't think we are an empire. I don't think our scope of control goes that far.
Well, America did what they did is that they either bought land or took it over. Well, they call it colonization, and they had a thing about what they said about England. They said sun never sets on England. That's because they had countries around the world that was under their domain. But that's pretty far spread out for them.
Well, we do today in this nation. Look everywhere that we've got a flag. We got embassies all over the world. So our domain is all over the world.
Have you heard they've left Belarus?
I haven't watched any
They
news
left
today.
that embassy. They want to go in and help Russia.
Yeah, Belarus has always been under Russia. But in this time, he was the king of the world. His empire was the greatest empire there was. Back to Daniel.
Yeah.
Dan and Nell beer. Whereas the king saw a watcher and an holy one coming down from heaven and saying, "Hold the tree down and destroy it. You leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, and the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast of the field, till 7 times pass over him,
Or 7 years.
or 7 centuries, or
Yeah.
time. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon the Lord the king, my Lord the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet these with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. There's the answer to the 7.
Yep.
Till such time as you come to your senses and realize who I am.
Yep.
Perfection.
Perfection.
And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee, after that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor. It may be a lengthening of thy tranquility.
Keep you sane longer.
Yeah. And this,
All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar at the end of 12 months. He walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty?
Ooh.
While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Neb, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. Or was it Lord of the Rings, my precious?
yeah.
We talked about Harry here a while back. We can talk about the Lord of the Rings. My precious.
Yeah.
And they shall drive thee
Drove him
from,
crazy, didn't it?
from men, and the dwelling place shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee eat grass as an oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee until thou know that that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whosoever he will. The same hour was the king fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and he did eat grass like an ox, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagles, feathered, like an eagle's feathers, and his nails like a bird's claw.
Hey, Howard,
Was a wild one.
what was it? Howard Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
He did that. That happened to him. His hair got. He did exactly what this happened to him right here.
That's what they say.
Didn't get a haircut. That's wow.
If you don't ever cut them, they'll get out there.
And at the
There it
end,
is.
here comes Justin.
What's up? What's going on, man?
You're late.
We was all late today.
Well,
Thanks, sir.
And at the end of the days, Nebuchadnezzar lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and my understanding, goodness gracious, returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored him that lives forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. David, why don't you finish us off? There's only a couple of verses left.
Turn to 35.
Yeah.
And all the inhabitants of the earth are regarded as nothing, but he does according to his will in the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. And no one can hold back his hand or say to him, what have you done? Now at the same time, my reason returned to me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my majesty and splendor were returned to me, and my counselors and my nobles began seeking me out, so that I was reestablished in my kingdom, and still more greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and honor the King of heaven, that's capital K, for all his works, capital H, are true and faithful, and his, capital H, ways are just, and he is able to be humiliate and humble those who walk in pride. He started giving them capital letters.
Yep.
And the 7 times was accomplished.
And the 7 times was accomplished. And that's Daniel chapter 4. Anything to add, Justin?
I missed part of it.
You want us to go back through it again?
No.
Wouldn't be the first
If it don't take, he'll do it again.
That's right. I think I got that figured out though.
So you want to take a break between this and 5?
Yeah. That's the format. Take a break.
Very good.
Are you sure you wanted to stop streaming? Yes.